Hey there, Maggie Williams. It's great to finally meet you.
Yes, finally we meet in person.
As we nowadays, that's what we call in person. We have an online exchange
Exactly.
on the red couch. Well, fantastic.
Hopefully one day I might get to come and sit on the couch rather than just looking at the couch.
Yeah, I was actually thinking maybe I could come to Spain and enjoy the nice weather because it's really freezing here at the moment.
Yeah,
Um,
yep, Spain or Portugal, both are very lovely. So you'd be very welcome to come and visit. And
yeah,
we have good weather, good wine,
yeah.
um, mainly good wine, but also good weather.
Fantastic, fantastic. And you and I, we got connected through a common cause that we're supporting, the Relocate the Profit. And maybe you could start by getting our viewership a little bit interested in, who you are by sharing a fun fact that people won't read on the internet about you.
Okay, so I have a very checkered career history. So although I've been in global mobility now for 6 or 7 years, I have worked in the past for CSI, so for crime scene investigation. So I did that for a while. That
Okay.
was very interesting and eye-opening. I also worked for the UK organ donation team, so where we would, if somebody was an organ donor, we would provide support and allocate the organs to the right people. And then I went in to become an anaesthetic practitioner. So I did that for a while and eventually ended up in A&E. So I was an A&E nurse for a while. And then relocated to Portugal and had to find a whole new career, which is how I ended up in global mobility. But I think some people might know about the nursing skills because I've been useful at conferences when people haven't been feeling very well or they've twisted an ankle or whatever. So I've been, yeah, that doesn't need to go to hospital. You're fine. It's still attached. There's no need for you to go to hospital. But yeah, I think had an interesting pathway. We'll see what the next 10 years bring.
I find that very fascinating. So, how do you get from being an NHS nurse to a person who works in languages and global mobility and upskilling?
Sure. So
How did that happen?
the relocation. So I was obviously in the UK, and the relocation to Portugal happened because I fell in love with a Portuguese man, and we thought we'd go live in Portugal. I mean, as we mentioned already, the sunshine, the wine, the food, what's not to love? But unfortunately, I couldn't continue to nurse here because although I do speak Portuguese, the level of that you require in order to be able to look after patients is beyond my skill set. So I needed to kind of pivot and find a new pathway. And interestingly, if you can organise doctors and patients, you can also organise assignees and relocation consultants. So I think that's a very transferable skill. You know, if you have people skills and if you can communicate clearly, if you can provide strategic planning, actually the sector doesn't matter so much. So I was very lucky to find a job with BiCortex, and have been given a number of wonderful opportunities. And in the last couple of years, as you probably would have seen, I've done a lot of traveling. I've been to a lot of conferences all over the world, which has been amazing because working for the NHS, I was stuck inside a big dark building and often I never saw the sunshine. So this is definitely an improvement.
Wow. And why do you do what you do? Tell us a bit more also about your role.
So I joined BiCortex 6 years ago, and I just joined as a coordinator. So, kind of doing the day-to-day stuff. And I've been very lucky that my boss, Inigo, he must have seen something in me and he's given me opportunities to shine and I've grabbed them with both hands. And now I sit as the Global Client Services Director. So I'm responsible for operations across the business, as well as sort of doing client services, business development, that kind of thing. The role is very interesting. It's very varied. The fact that we work in 150 countries around the world is amazing, but it means I have to know a lot of things, or I have to know a lot of people that know a lot of things. Sometimes it's not always what I know, but often it's who I know. And I think the network that we've developed in order to be in that many countries is really amazing. And that's absolutely the best thing about my job is the people I meet, and most of whom I get to call friends, which I'm very fortunate for.
Wonderful. I always say we global mobility people, we have all of us, we have a big heart usually.
Yeah.
And that's also why, when we meet in the world somewhere at an airport or on conferences or
Yeah.
randomly at a Christmas market, for example, we usually feel like we're family. It's
Yeah.
a very
Absolutely.
kind industry in general. I mean, there
It
are
is.
some sharks.
Yeah, I've been so welcomed. I remember my first conference and I was so nervous. And, 2 or 3 years down the line, I walk in now and I know I'm going to be seeing people. there's always a million WhatsApp groups telling me who's going to be there, what activities we're doing. Of course, we're working very hard. There's no fun to be had in the evenings, I'm sure. But no, it's so nice to have like friends all over the world.
Yeah, wonderful. And I guess this is also a reason, why we're in RTP and Relocate the Profit, because that's one of the reasons why the organization was founded. So, do you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah. So, BiCortex and Inigo, we joined Relocate the Profit. I think we were the 7th or 8th member. We were very early on into the kind of in the infancy. Mm-hmm. And basically it's, a group of companies or individuals representing their company that are coming together to do something better in the world. So each person gives €1 off every invoice, or $1 or £1 or one something off every invoice. And then that money is all collected and it goes to a named charity for the year. I know that we've supported Ripple in Africa, if I remember correctly. This year, I know I should know who it is. Maybe you remember, Angie, I'm not sure. But actually, it's just about making a small gesture. But when lots of people make small gestures combined, it makes a huge impact. And I think we're now at over €20,000 in total. And I think we're almost 50 members, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
so we're always
now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're always looking for new people. And actually, again, that's that kind of those like-minded individuals, people that want to help others in the world. So it's not just about profit, it's about doing the right thing for people. So the Relocate the Profit group is probably one of my favorite groups, because they're always very kind and very sincere, which I really appreciate.
Mm. Yeah, and I think it also leads to a different way of collaborating amongst smaller companies, boutique consulting companies, and the likes, because the industry is technically, it's a bit hard to get into. There's already so many contracts that are, owned by relocation management companies, and there are some large ones, and they control the market basically. And then there's small boutique providers who have the interest of the expat at heart, and they're sort of they also want to collaborate more, because otherwise they have a hard time delivering a global service.
And I think those connections are really important. And I go to every conference, and I very proudly always put my Relocate the Profit badge on. And those people that know about Relocate the Profit will come and say, "Oh, we're part of the same network. Did you know I cover this area?" Or "What area do you cover?" So we have that kind of connection. But also lots of people say to me, "Oh, what's that all about?" They kind of come up to you with a pointed finger, and I'm like, "Oh, okay. Oh, you want my badge? That's fine." And it's really nice to talk about something positive, because often there can be so much negativity in the world. So it's really nice to talk about something that's doing good.
Yeah, and builds community as well. And
it does. And I think probably, so I wouldn't say I was responsible, but I think by all of the members actively talking about it, I think we gain more members, and that network grows, and that communication grows, and our kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like our visibility improves all the time. So, which is why we're always gaining new members, and the more members we have, the more people we're going to be able to help.
Yeah, wonderful. And how did your journey go until here? Is there any advice that you have for a younger professional who, maybe a student who thinks about entering the field of global mobility? What kind of advice would you give a younger version of you?
I think I kind of fell into global mobility, but I think if you want to be into global mobility, it's about talking to people that are in the industry and actually really making sure that what you think it is what it is. Because I think sometimes we have this idea. So probably when I mentioned CSI, you probably have the idea of the TV show and it being sort of very sexy. It's not sexy. It's really not sexy. I would love it to have been, but it's not all like, hot policemen and all that. It's not. It really isn't. Same as like working for the NHS. It's not like Grey's Anatomy. But I think if you're already in the industry, the thing that I did that made a huge, huge difference to me was I got myself a mentor. I met a person in a business meeting, and I kind of came like, I was like, wow, she was impressive. Like, I want to be like her when I'm a grown up. And then I met her face to face at an event, and she was so kind, and she said hello, and she introduced me to a couple of people, and I was like, oh wow, she's so nice. And it was coming to the end of the day, and I don't quite know where, but I suddenly had the courage, and I went back up to her and I said, would you be my mentor, please? And she was really touched, and she gave me a big hug, and she said she'd be honored. And then, so for the last 2.5 years, we've had regular meetings, and not only has she mentored me, she's become one of my really close friends, and I'm so, so grateful for her. So if you're in the industry, find somebody who you have an affinity with. They don't have to be, if you work for an RMC, they don't have to work, they might work in immigration, or they might work for a supplier. It doesn't have to be somebody in your company or in your exact field, but somebody within that mobility industry. Because I think having a good mentor in your life can make a huge difference, and having somebody you can trust. And I mean, I'm like, this is probably a stupid question, but can I ask? And she doesn't mind when I ask the stupid questions, because if you don't know what you don't know. So for me, having a mentor was really, really important.
That's great.
And she's still my mentor. Like we still speak every 2 weeks. So I value her so, so much.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic advice. And do you, for your work, business development, and also you mentioned now that you're a chapter leader at FEM, Forum of Expatriate Management, for all those people who don't understand all the abbreviations that we're using on a daily basis. Do you have any favorite social media networks that you're on?
So I think, professionally, I think the main one is always going to be LinkedIn, because that's kind of where we all are. I learn so much on there, with people kind of posting their insights, but also their travels. When I see people are coming to Portugal, I'm like, oh, reach out to me, let's grab lunch, or let's grab a coffee. Or if they're not in my area, I could make a recommendation for kind of nice things to do in that area. I think obviously there are lots and lots of organizations, where there are different events, different conferences, and I'm quite lucky that I get to go to many of them. And although there is an overlap, there is also not. There are people that you only see at certain events. So having that breadth and that knowledge, I think, is really important. FEM, I really enjoy. So they have their big conferences in the US, in EMEA and APAC, and I've been going now for the last 3 or 4 years. And I am now in the fortunate position to hold their local Iberia chapter meeting. So I'm the lead for Spain and Portugal. Mm-hmm. And we had our first meeting, actually it was last week in Madrid. And we had over 50 people attend, which was amazing. So I think chapters are normally kind of 20 to 30. So to have 50 people attend the first one, I was very proud. And, to be the lead, obviously there was a team, and I'm very grateful to all the other people on the steering committee and to our speakers. And yeah, it wasn't just me, but yeah. I did feel very proud that I pulled it all together, and I'm looking forward to doing the next one in Lisbon, which will be in the spring of 2025. More details to follow, but you'd be very welcome to come and visit, Angie, if you'd like to come to Lisbon in the spring to come to our chapter meeting. It would be great to have you.
How about I could maybe facilitate a workshop?
We could definitely talk about that for sure. Yeah.
Let's take that offline, because I always need some sort of a professional excuse, to go somewhere.
You don't need the excuse to come to Lisbon. Lisbon is a beautiful city. You should just come because it's beautiful, and you don't need a big excuse. But
it's better if I have a professional excuse.
I guess that means you're looking at expensive flights, right? So
I have a company to run.
Absolutely. So I think, and interestingly, it's because I have that network that we were able to put on a good event, because the network meant that we could build a great steering committee, and then that steering committee could then use their network to make sure we had great speakers. Yes. So for me, it was a really nice opportunity. And also, it's kind of building my profile. It's, people are getting to know me better, which for me is really great.
Well, I think it's an excellent opportunity, and I look forward to sharing more details on this event.
Thank you, Angie. I appreciate that.
Also, I will add your LinkedIn profile to the show notes below. Obviously, we would like everybody to like the video and to follow us and subscribe for more Red Couch Talks. And final famous last words, as I usually say, Maggie, what is something you want to share with our audience?
Oh, gosh. This one wasn't prepped. I don't know what to say as my famous last words. I think just be a good person. And I think global mobility is going through so much change and so much challenge at the moment. And I think just remembering that and working with people with kindness and compassion is really important, because there's just just be nice to people, I think. Because sometimes, you know, in stressful situations, people can get a bit antsy. And I think I always try to be fair and to be honest and to be transparent. And anybody that works with me will know that that's how I am. And I think kind of maintaining that and encouraging other people to be the same is really important.
Wonderful. And you're a role model.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm working on it. Maybe in 20 years' time I might be, but right now I feel like I'm still quite a small fish in a very big pond, but I'm working on it.
You know, you don't see the ripple effects of your work.
Thank you, Angie. I appreciate that. That's really kind of you to say. We'll see.
And it was great to have you. And I look forward to meeting you maybe in Lisbon next
year. Indeed. We'll sort that out.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Thanks, Angie. Take care.
Have a great day.
Thank you.